Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to our live session, which we do every Wednesday. I'm sure you've met us before. So we have Shellin Briand, who's over in the States. Shellin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Well, hello, I'm Shellin Briand, and I am one of our success coaches here, and we love our Wednesday live. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. And today we'd like to talk you through a great subject close to our hearts, which is LinkedIn, and how to optimize and ensure that your LinkedIn profile is as an employer would want to see it, because obviously, ultimately, we're all trying to get our successes seen and heard and celebrated. Just a little brief story from myself, and I know that Shellin will love to speak to you about her story later on in the slides. But just to say that when I got my job with Supermums, my CV landed on Heather Black's desk, or I know it's not quite like that these days, but she received my CV, I should say. And she already knew me from LinkedIn. So that's how important LinkedIn is. So I'm hoping that Shellin can pull up some slides and then we can talk you through them.
Absolutely. All right. We are sharing a deck here that we've had the opportunity to present and perfect over time. And this is content that I had the opportunity to share in a number of Salesforce conferences, and parts of this actually had an opportunity to share on stage at Dreamforce. So we just want to reassure everyone that it's worth the time to invest in LinkedIn, and maybe some of the thoughts that you've had in the past or the way that you've used it. I know for me, it was really just a digital it was a digital resume in many ways. And honestly, it was outdated and not optimized. And I think back today, what if I had known, what Lynn, you and I know today back then, of how many people and opportunities did I just never hear about because they didn't know about me.
Absolutely. And I think as well, saying that, Shellin, I think, you've got 5 proven steps. I know that you've been doing training yourself on it. So it's just great that we can come on and share it with everyone.
Yes, perfect. Well, Lynn, why don't you kick this off? Because I know this was something that you learned along the way, and it's been really valuable for both of us. So just explain what this is and why it's important.
Okay, this is my favorite. This is my absolute favorite. As soon as I was told about this, I was so excited. Now, for those of you who would like to connect with myself and Shellin, please feel free while I'm talking to scan the QR code, and that will take you direct to our profiles. So that tells you how valuable this is. Now, if you go to an event, or you are somewhere where there are a lot of people that you want to connect with, absolutely get this on your profile, screenshot it, and then you can walk around your event and use it as your business card and get lots of lovely connections. So how to do it? You literally go to the top search bar on your profile, and if you click onto that search bar, on the far side, on the right-hand side there, you'll see a little square. And if you click on there, just like magic, this will appear. So make sure you get that screenshotted, if that's a word, and share with absolutely everyone, because I was absolutely delighted when I found out about this.
Exactly. And if you didn't have your phone at the ready, just know it's an easy to Google how to create a QR code for your LinkedIn profile, and it'll send you right to the directions.
Absolutely. And I have actually dropped the links. If you haven't done this, I have dropped the links into the chat, so you are able to absolutely connect with us in the normal way if you prefer. But over to you, Shellin, for the next slides. And I'm going to leave this to you because you're the expert.
Oh, no. Well, you'll have to pipe in, because you've certainly had the journey of learning how, and I think sometimes it's really just trial and error. So there's some best practices that we're going to share, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of getting getting engaged. And I would say one of the things that I would recommend is just getting it on your calendar, trying to fit it in. I don't know about most people, but I know for our Supermoms community and those that tend to be attracted to our community, we are busy. We're busy working or taking care of children, family, hobbies, whatever it is. There just isn't enough time. So whether it's 15 minutes a couple days a week or a few hours, if you're actively job searching, I don't think there's a better place to spend your time, quite honestly, and we'll give you some strategies. But the most important thing you can do is actually get your profile optimized for what you want. So for many in this community, it is really that next job opportunity. So having your profile really optimized for the review of a recruiter or hiring manager, or perhaps people on the team that your profile may be sent to. For those who've been out of the job market for a while, LinkedIn is an essential part of your strategy. So your resume, of course, you need a resume to, flow through the process. But I'd say in many cases, the story you can tell and the information you can convey on your LinkedIn profile is a lot more in your control. And especially for any of us that have any of those little moments of time where we took a little bit of time to raise children or we've relocated, it helps you to create the bigger story. So I share this just to mention that it's really possible to make a lot of shift in a short period of time if you're consistent. So when I started, I had about 1,200 connections, and honestly, most of those were because of the job that I had. I was in a sales leadership position. There were a lot of agents that we worked with that had reached out. So it wasn't really even connections that I had nurtured. And it was really just like kind of an outdated resume. But I took Lynn and I were just chatting about this, a really expensive class right as the pandemic started. And I realized I needed to learn how to use LinkedIn, and just doing these and many of these things we're going to share today ended up with, over 1 million views and collaborations and a lot of connections, a job that I love, having an opportunity to speak. And I would say, please don't, unless you have a reason to want to build a really big network, just know having 500, 100, but there's 501 is a good number because of some things that happen with LinkedIn. But that's all you need, a well-placed connection. So I do want to caveat that. And there's a couple of things we're going to hone in on today. And one thing that really boosts your views and exposure is achieving what they call all-star status with LinkedIn. And I'll show you those. There's a couple things on that list that people just don't realize are important, or and I'll share why that is. But if you just check those off, you'll immediately start being shown to more people, including hiring managers and recruiters. And then we're going to walk through the other remaining 4 steps and talk about some profile optimization.
Excellent. Look forward to it.
Yes. So first of all, this is in your settings. I really encourage you to turn off your profile update sharing while you're optimizing your profile. Once you've done that, I would encourage you to turn it back on so that when you share things like a new job, that it'll let your network know. But while you're working on it, you don't necessarily want to, give updates. And particularly if you have a current job and you're optimizing because you're getting ready to get a new job, sometimes it's helpful just to, do that a little low key on your time, and you don't need to have that visible, but you can just turn that off.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I didn't realize that you could have is a custom URL. So the LinkedIn profile, there's a setting, and you can Google this, and you can personalize the URL. So you can just use your name. If you have a more common name, it might be taken. So you might need to switch your names around or use your middle initial. But there's a couple reasons for that. Google loves LinkedIn, and it shows LinkedIn profiles and articles readily when people search. So having your name as your URL helps when somebody might Google you, your LinkedIn profile is going to show up. So that's a great way to do it. You also want to make sure that your profile is turned on, especially when you're looking for a job, because you see it with like everything looks right. But if you don't have that setting, when somebody else looks, it almost looks like you're a fake candidate or perhaps a fake profile because your profile picture's just kind of grayed out. So that's an important piece. And then making sure that, again, your profile is public, but also your photo is public. And sometimes people think, oh, I just want to share that with my network. But in this case, especially when you're looking for a job, you want it to be readily available. So if your profile is sent over, like I interviewed this person, they seem really talented, check them out. And then they look and everything's kind of grayed out. It just doesn't help you.
Do you know what? I think even for me watching this, how great it is working with you, Shellin, because I'm learning some things today as well. So I will absolutely be going and checking my profile when we've finished.
And it's, sometimes it feels a little overwhelming. I would just say it's just one step at a time. When I started, it was very busy because the pandemic was happening. I had 2 9-year-olds who were doing homeschooling and working full time, and it was kind of a mess. So I set my phone alarm I'm a morning person, and this is when my kids were asleep, but from 5 a.m. to 5:15. So it was 15 minutes. I grabbed a coffee. I sat in a cozy chair and I did my LinkedIn things I did a specific order of things and I did them for 15 minutes and then I was on with my day. So it doesn't take a lot and it's just one step at a time, but that consistency and regular progress there's just a huge return. So the LinkedIn All-Star status, again, is one of the things that LinkedIn uses to decide you're serious about LinkedIn and we're going to show your profile. And when you're searching and really for everybody forever, but especially when you're pivoting your career, wanting to build a network and to be a really viable candidate, you want these 7 things to be done. And you can Google this. So don't worry, take a screenshot if you want. But you want to have a current position, and that's troubling sometimes for people because if they're not currently working, how am I supposed to have a current position? And this is my opinion, so you can also kind of check out some others. I think it's totally appropriate to go ahead and put a current position, even if it's that you are like in a training program. Just make sure that you're not misrepresenting what you're doing. But you can explain in the content of that job, like use the keywords of what you're learning, what you're doing, but go ahead and have something in that current position. And it'll be obvious that it's not a current paid job, but it will take care of this. This will help you. The industry is another one that people sometimes don't think about because they're open, right? So let's say there's somebody that's taken a Salesforce administrator course and they are not industry specific. So they're happy to work in education or tech. So they just leave this blank. This is one, just pick one. It honestly doesn't matter. Try to pick one that maybe you'd be more likely to work in. So Lynn, I know you and I talk a lot with our trainees and our community about identifying your transferable skills or your transferable industry. So to go back to that education, let's say you're a teacher, now you're moving into Salesforce, like maybe you want to, you can put tech or you can put education if you're going to target some Salesforce customers or Salesforce related education. So just pick one. It's not going to like block you from other things, but it will help. Make sure you have a photo. And it is advisable to have a photo kind of your shoulder and above, straight, make eye contact, like direct eye contact. There's a level of trust there. Have a slight smile. So you don't want to be like beaming or super serious. Although I would say I've learned my lesson. Depending on where you are in the world, there's best practices that culturally or in your region are more appropriate. So defer to that, of course. But there's a lot of
my picture is completely wrong. I think I'm beaming from ear to ear, and I'm stood up. So I will be looking at that afterwards.
I would say for you though, because you're not job searching, you are, and this is a good example of how you want to think about what you want. Like, let's say for the next 6 months. So Lynn, for you, it's building the network and awareness in the Salesforce community and being warm and welcoming. And so your photo, which I think this is just a good lesson. So let's go back to it. So this photo of Lynn, now, no, if she was job searching, I would say ditch the photo. But because she's really wanting to be welcoming to the Salesforce community, like the community knows who this is. And this photo, it makes it very clear that you're someone in the Salesforce community. So if you are looking to do something else, or if you're a speaker, right? So there might be a situation where you want something a little more action oriented, but for the most part, it's your chance for people to connect with you. That photo also follows you everywhere. So everywhere you comment, everywhere you wouldn't even know, but your profile is being served up with the, people you may want to know, or always also known kind of categories. It's your name, your headline, and your photo. So when that photo is more like warm and professional and welcoming, and we'll show you like simple backgrounds, they just pop more and show up. But you definitely want one of those. Please don't use wedding photos, kids, unless you're like a child development coach, right? Or something like that's like speaks to your brand. You do want something in your summary or about section. We're not going to dive into that too deep today, but I would recommend that you have something. It can be simple. You want a location. And this is one where you can hack the system a little bit. So let's say for me, I live in Oregon, but I want to relocate to Nashville, Tennessee, because the cost of living is so much lower and we have family in the South. I would probably go ahead and change my location in LinkedIn to where I want to be, because LinkedIn and the algorithm connects you with opportunities and people in your area as one of the categories. So if you know that's where you want to go, you might consider doing that. You want to make sure, and there's a whole strategy around skills we'll dive into, but you need to be all-star. You need at least 5 skills, and they need to be endorsed by someone. So this is where you can tap into family and friends at first, and just make sure that you put the top skills that would make sense for what you want in the next 6 months or so. So if you were searching for a Salesforce administrator job, you're going to want to make sure that Salesforce skills and those top skills, and you can Google that, use ChatGPT, look at job descriptions is a great way to find those skills that they're looking for and highlight those. Go to your friends and family, send them the link to the skills and ask them to endorse you. And then you can work on sort of the real deal, but that'll get you boosted. And then you need some kind of an education. And for those of you that may not have the traditional education, go ahead and include something that is a training program, but just make sure there's something there in that education area.
Great advice.
So keywords. So I didn't actually realize, and I never gave this any thought, LinkedIn is a search engine. So as a recruiter, so I worked alongside of Salesforce recruiting company, and Lynn and I do now, but this was more of like a high volume. So I got a chance to see like under the hood kind of thing. There's a program with LinkedIn called LinkedIn Recruiter, and that is where it's like searching for a car. If you're looking for a candidate for a job, you're clicking buttons and figuring all the things that you're looking for to take, there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn, and you want to, narrow that down to say 20 ideal candidates. You're using keywords for that, and you're using categories. So it's very important that you give some thought to what are those transferable skills, maybe some industry expertise that may not relate to what you want to do next, but there's value in that to get paid for that. And then those keywords that are really directly aligned as well as you can with what you want next. And include those kinds of keywords in your headline, in your about section. You want your experience areas for your different jobs to include as many of those examples and impact as possible using those keywords so that you are an obvious choice. So that would be some recommendations, and also following companies that you're interested in, and over time figuring out which are the recruiters that work for them. And you can follow those people and you'll start to see job opportunities.
It's funny because on the back of that, that's so very true. I just find myself, if someone tags a few people in at an organization, I will always find them and follow them, because it's just so important for other people to see who's following them. And of course, don't forget, if you look at someone's profile, they know you've looked at it. So sometimes it makes them look at you. So
yes. And I would say, if you're trying to be a little stealthier and you want to do some research and prep, there's nothing wrong with them knowing, because that says you're interested, you're doing research. Like, sometimes that can be a really good thing. But if you ever are in a situation where you really don't want them to know, if you pay for premium, even if you only do it for a month, you can set it so that you're invisible. So that's just a thought for those of you that, maybe want to do a little more sleuthing around, and maybe even for a season, you want to build your network and kind of check people out, but don't want to be quite so obvious. You can just pay for premium or use the free trial. So the other way to find some of these keywords, and my very favorite of all, is to just take 2 or 3 job descriptions, just literally cut and paste it into ChatGPT. Say, I'm looking for a job as a business analyst. Please review these 3 job descriptions and pull out the top 10 most valuable skills or experiences ranked in order, and it'll just spit it out. But if you, for whatever reason, don't want to get into using ChatGPT, you can actually just do a really simple word cloud, and you just Google free word cloud, drop the job description into the word cloud, and you'll get something that looks like this, that will make it really obvious what they're searching for, so that if you're making a change, you can think through, you're somebody that's worked with partners, that there's solutions, there's revenue, goals, leveraging technology. So let's say you've been a teacher, to come back to that example. Okay, you didn't do Salesforce, but think about how you've leveraged technology and used those as examples on your LinkedIn profile and your resume, even though those wouldn't be obvious examples of what made you an excellent teacher or a great candidate to be a teacher. Those are the examples that are going to matter if you want to be moving into the technology space.
And I might just add to that, if you haven't tried ChatGPT, you need to try it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. What surprised you the most so far about ChatGPT, Lynn? Something that you've tried that really stuck out to you?
I think for me, even when you're doing posts on LinkedIn, if you want to know something about anything, if you just put it into Google, you just get loads of stuff come up. If you put it into Chat GPT, it's specific to the question you're asking. And I think, it is, you start doing it and it's just, you can't stop, can you?
I would agree with that. That's for maybe we'll do that in another upcoming weekly session.
Because definitely should.
It's a great way to also ask questions. So you can put a job description. So while you're identifying your keywords, you can put that job description in, and you can put a copy of your current job description. So if you're a teacher, like, cut and paste what your actual job description is, and ask it to compare and contrast against the job description of the business analyst, and make you a list of strengths, transferable skills and strengths that you bring to the table. And it will give you a list. And I promise you, there will be things on there that you're going to go, oh, I didn't even think about that.
And I think absolutely do it.
Yeah. So there's it's really great just to think of it as a brainstorming partner.
Definitely.
So the other big thing besides your name, your face, there's about 145 characters. I think that's the right number that shows of your headline wherever you go. Comments, anywhere anybody looks at, they're going to see at least that first portion. So you do want the beginning of that headline to be something that might catch the attention of the person who you want to meet or you want to appeal to. So, and you can go to ChatGPT, will give you, but here's a few ideas of some things that you can use from a headline. And it could be what you do, how you help, how you create an ideal outcome. It could be more of a title or job responsibilities and value. With Salesforce, you can add certifications. You can add niche expertise. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but you want to think and get outside of searching for a job. I would definitely stay away from doing that. I see that a lot. Fair or not, there is a thought with many recruiters that they really prefer to find candidates who are working. It's just kind of the truth. And I'm not quite sure why that is, other than they know that that person's not going to make a move unless they're really interested and more likely to be the right candidate versus somebody who's really needing to get back to work. They might take an opportunity or move towards an opportunity that might not be an ideal fit. But I would recommend not putting that in your headline and just focus on what value you're going to bring to an organization, what you know, any expertise, making it really clear, even if you're not a business analyst currently, of having that in your headline. So it's really clear that that's the category that you're working with. But definitely don't just put it defaults to your title at your company, current company. And that's not really telling anyone anything unless you happen to be, working at Google or something where it's just there's such value in the brand name, you might consider it, but you're a lot more than your title at that company. Make the headline be about you.
Yeah. And just incidentally, I might just add, we don't have shares in ChatGPT.
I wish I did. Oh my gosh, I wish I did. I would 100% sell everything I own and invest in it if I had enough to be able to do so, because it's stunning. And just on a personal level, it saves me at least 6 hours a week on things that just weren't high value, but they needed to get done. And it allows so much more time for creativity of getting like more important things started or finished. Love it.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I say we haven't got shares, because we sound like we're just trying to sell it to everyone.
I know. I think it's just once you sort of experience it, it's like, it's just
go back. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's surprising how many things I actually use it for now. I said one then because you asked me a question, but even I did something else I did. And again, I know we're diversing a little bit, but I copied and pasted the minutes of a meeting just because I wanted to find out, just a few little tasks throughout it. And, it just came out with the tasks, and it was just like, that's exactly what I was looking for. So
that's really stunning. And it's just starting. So I'd say the other reason why we bring it up, and it is not just to digress, is because it is here and it is going to be in every company, in every kind of role in some way. And so leaning in now and showing that you have openness to learn and grow is going to help you stand out as a candidate, because it's just a reality. It's happening faster than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
Within the Salesforce world, it is just like whoosh, so we all are going to have to deal with it, and you will be well served by leaning in a bit, experimenting, learning, knowing that it is going to be sort of an everyday thing in the very near future. but being part of the conversation will help out. And candidates, absolutely, hiring managers are going to be on the lookout for people who can be open and involved in some of these projects, because they're coming no matter what.
I think this is definitely a subject we need to weave into our Wednesdays. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, carry on. So we'll wrap up here in just the next couple minutes. And one is skills. It's just so important that you have your top 2. And now it depends, 2 and 3 skills are showing up to everyone on LinkedIn. So you want those most important skills that are aligned for what job you want next, not necessarily the current job that you have. Put those at the top. You may not know you can actually reorder skills, which is great. Clear out, sometimes depending on your job, as your career progresses, like people assume you know how to use Outlook. So you can get rid of some of those maybe earlier on skills that helped stand out. Just get rid of them, or skills that were super important for a past career but just aren't relevant anymore. Just get them out, because those are also people that are being led to you is by skills you don't want to be using anymore. So just ditch those. You can have 50, but probably target having maybe 30 ideal ones. And the reason is then that gives you a little room to add, and many job postings will show those. So if you're applying for something or interested in something specific, you can add a few that are really relevant. If you have 50, you've got to go back and delete them. So you want to ask people to endorse your skills. The best way, honestly, to do that is go through your connections and go endorse several of their skills. That's really helpful. And you can just send a quick note, DM to somebody. Can be friends, family, former colleagues, just whomever at the beginning, to get your profile set up, and just asking in return, is there any skills that they're really trying to feature? You'd be happy to endorse those that are appropriate.
Can I just say, I tried to add the QR codes into the chat, but it won't let me. But obviously, if it's something you want to do, you can find us on, we have actually just put the comments in the comment box, or of course you can rewatch this, because it will be recorded. So you are able to go back to pause on our QR codes and absolutely find us.
Perfect. And I'll fly back to that slide and end on it if anybody is wanting to take a look at that. So, recommendations, really encourage you to give 10 and to get 10. So that's a good ballpark to have, and help people by giving them recommendations, and think about who's going to be looking at this, who would be hiring this person. How can you give a recommendation that's specific, is about their positive impact, what they accomplished, so that you think in terms of someone's evaluating them as a candidate, how could your recommendation really support them? And then vice versa, get some more recommendations, please. And then even put a monthly reminder and look back through your calendar and think, what happened this month that there could be, somebody could give a recommendation, and just ask and just let people know, hey, I'm finally updating my LinkedIn profile, and maybe remind them of something you worked on together, and let them know the type of job that you're excited to be, landing, and the kinds of things that would be supportive of that. So sometimes people are happy to give you one, but they don't really know what to say. Give them, here's a potential, but just, ask that way, give a bunch, and give it in a way that helps you look good as the person giving the recommendation, and really helps them stand out as a candidate. Again, and we touched on this, so I'll just fly by this, is your experience section. Write it, and this can be more like an informational interview kind of verbiage. So you don't have to keep it the way that you have it on your resume, where you need to be like really short and punchy with bullets because you have such limited time. In your experience, you can attach media. So if you've given a presentation, you can actually use that. Or if you've been a speaker, or maybe you did a fundraiser, if you aren't currently in a for pay job, or there's some kind of project, you can tell a bit of your story. So think about this as kind of a landing page about you, your professional life, your interests, what makes you unique, and what you're looking for. And I'm going to fly back here to there we go. And that is an overview of a few things that you can do. Those 7 key things that you can do to take forward progress, do them over this week, and you will have an all-star LinkedIn profile and really start elevating the number of people that you're showing up to and building that kind of a profile that's going to serve you well into the future.
Absolutely. And I, with the help of you, Shellin, I had a target by the end of the year in terms of followers. And I know that, like you said, if you've got 1,000 people in the room and they're all following you, it's a lot of people to have. But I absolutely overachieved on that. So that was really good. So that was just taking the advice of you. So I would encourage everyone to watch this again. Perhaps pause it as you go through, so you can maybe go through and actually do the points that Shellin's made. And genuinely, you'll be surprised how much interest you can get in yourself and how many interesting stories you can read out there as well, which is really great.
Exactly. And I love that you brought that up. Like 1,000 people in the room. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I only have this many, but I mean, I don't know about you, but walking into a room of 100 people who knew who I was, who were interested enough to follow or connect with me would be overwhelming. So LinkedIn has that 500 threshold, really helps them know that you're serious and you have a network and you should show up a lot more. But, 510, get there so that sometimes there'll be a change. But if you have that, like, you can focus a lot more on just, finding the opportunities that you're looking for, unless you really want that kind of a job where you are a thought leader or that role as you're helping with business development, then building a broader one has value. But other than that, I think being really proud of 100 followers or connections is really solid. The only reason really to move up more into that just over 500 is because it will serve you with the algorithm, and over time it will just take on a life of its own. If you are even small amounts of time consistent over time, people will come to you and they'll be really excited to get to know you and connect with you. And I would say kind of a last word of wisdom is in LinkedIn, just in the search bar, search for Supermoms, join our group, follow the company, but click on the people and you'll see hundreds. There's like 600 people that are part of our community, where, not everyone is going to respond because they get a lot, but reach out. Most of us are just so happy to connect and engage. And we're really happy that you took the time with us today.
Absolutely. And if you think of anything, especially with Shellin, although I can normally help as well, just send us a message through LinkedIn and we'd be happy to connect with you further, to collaborate and share ideas. Absolutely. We enjoy doing that. So thank you for joining us today. Next week, we're going to be talking a bit about our admin course, because that's coming up soon. And the week after, so every Wednesday, we're going to be live. The week after will be on motivation. So hopefully we'll see you over the next couple of weeks. And if you need us, you know where we are.
Yes. Thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.